the biting wind of Havenwood whipped through the skeletal trees, mirroring the icy dread that had settled in Arthur's heart. He was a ghost in his own town, a shadow flitting through the brightly lit lives of others. Rejection was his constant companion, a familiar ache in his chest. He was a pariah, a freak, and he knew it. Then Sarah arrived. She was a whirlwind of laughter and sunshine, a vibrant splash of color in Arthur's monochrome existence. He saw her at the local diner, her eyes sparkling as she regaled the waitress with a story. He saw her at the library, her fingers dancing across the spines of books. He saw her, and he was captivated. He started small, leaving her anonymous notes, poems filled with the yearning that clawed at his insides. He watched her from afar, memorizing her habits, the way she tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, the curve of her smile. He built a fantasy around her, a world where she saw him, truly saw him, and loved him back. Finally, he mustered the courage to speak to her. He stammered and blushed, his words a clumsy jumble, but she listened. She laughed, a melodic sound that sent a jolt of electricity through him. She was kind, encouraging, and for the first time in his life, Arthur felt seen. They started spending time together. They walked through the woods, sharing secrets and dreams. He felt himself falling, tumbling headfirst into a love he never thought possible. He poured his heart out to her, revealing the loneliness that had haunted him for so long. She listened, her eyes filled with a sympathy that felt genuine. Then came the night of the Harvest Festival. The town square was alive with music and laughter. Arthur, emboldened by the weeks he'd spent with Sarah, finally confessed his feelings. He poured out his heart, his voice trembling with emotion. He told her he loved her. Sarah's laughter, when it came, was different. It was sharp, cruel, and devoid of the warmth he'd come to associate with her. Her eyes, once so bright, were now cold and calculating. "Oh, Arthur," she said, her voice dripping with mockery. "You poor, pathetic thing. Did you really think I'd be interested in someone like you?" The world tilted, the music faded, the vibrant colors of the festival blurred into a sickening haze. He felt the ground fall away beneath him. "I was just playing with you," she continued, her words like shards of glass. "It was so easy. You were so desperate." The blood roared in Arthur's ears. The rejection, the years of isolation, the crushing weight of his own inadequacy, it all coalesced into a blinding rage. The world narrowed, focusing on Sarah's mocking face. He didn't remember the first blow. He only remembered the crimson spray, the scream that died in her throat, the way her eyes widened in terror. He didn't remember the details, only the overwhelming sense of release, the sweet, intoxicating taste of revenge. The next day, Sarah was gone. The town was in an uproar. The police, baffled, searched for clues. Arthur, meanwhile, was a ghost again, but this time he was different. He was no longer a victim. He was a predator. He started small, targeting those who had, in his mind, wronged him. The popular kids who had tormented him in high school. The gossiping neighbors who had whispered behind his back. The shopkeeper who had refused to serve him. Each kill was a ritual, a cleansing. He stalked his victims, watching them, learning their routines, savoring the anticipation. He left no trace, his movements as silent and unseen as the shadows that clung to the edges of Havenwood. The fear in the town grew. Doors were bolted, windows were shuttered. The once vibrant streets were now deserted after dark. The police were baffled, the clues leading nowhere. Then the disappearances started. People vanished without a trace, their absence a gaping wound in the fabric of the community. The fear escalated, morphing into a palpable dread that hung heavy in the air. One night, under the pale glow of the moon, Arthur found himself drawn to the town square, the scene of his first act of violence. He stood in the shadows, watching the flickering flames of the bonfire, the remnants of the harvest festival. He felt a presence beside him. He turned, expecting to see a potential victim, but instead, he saw Sarah. She was smiling, the same cruel, mocking smile that had haunted his dreams. But this time, her eyes held a different kind of light, a predatory gleam that sent a shiver down his spine. "You did well, Arthur," she said, her voice a silken whisper. "You've embraced your true nature." He stared at her, confusion warring with a growing sense of unease. "But you see," she continued, stepping closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial murmur, "I'm not Sarah. I'm just a part of you, the part that always knew what you were capable of." She reached out, her hand brushing against his cheek. Her touch was cold, clammy, and as she did, he saw his reflection in her eyes. It wasn't his face, but a distorted, monstrous version of himself. The twist. Arthur was the serial killer all along, but Sarah was the manifestation of his darkest impulses, the embodiment of his rage and his need for revenge. She was the voice in his head, the puppeteer pulling the strings. And now, she was ready to take control completely. The real horror wasn't the blood, but the realization that he was always the monster, and Sarah was just the key to unlocking it. If you this video, then please consider subscribing for more. Thanks.